Welcome to another edition of the Bhandwagon Podcast, and today it's a jump-off edition. What that means is I'm answering your questions, your discussion points that you've replied to me on Instagram, and in combination with a few of the topic areas that I want to have a chat about, I'll be answering those questions right here on this episode. So a big thank you for everybody who's been supporting the podcast, especially some of the interviews that have come out. I've had amazing feedback, especially with the My Bongo project as well, which is a digital download available for young women to help them deal with the pressures of social media. It's still on the website, so you can go on the Bhandwagon website and download it. And amazing sort of playlist that I've put together with artists and actual artists and co-hosts and creatives in the South Asian sphere. So a big thank you from there. Also, I want to follow up with a little bit of an apology as well. The podcasts have been a little bit less frequent. As we know, life has its own events and plans. And so some things have taken a bit of a back step. But what it has allowed me to do is actually appreciate a lot of the feedback, and when people have talking to me about the podcast, I can't believe how far it's gone. It's definitely building up a little bit of a momentum now, and and a community which is brilliant. It never started out to be that way, but it's got a mind of its own, and so I really appreciate one little message that you can get can actually be that motivation. Because I'm not going to lie, over the last sort of 6 months, it has been a struggle to get a little bit of a motivation, or you get disheartened when if I told you the amount of podcasts that I've recorded and who with, super, super big people, and I won't go down it, but the other parts of where you are waiting for them to come in. Actually, I'm not going to go down that road. I'll just leave it as it is. But I can assure you that there are plans and there are things in place for to get guests that you would be surprised that we could speak about. But I've got a bunch of things I want to talk about and go through. I just want to kind of put it at this point. These are light-hearted conversations. Some may get into a little bit more seriousness, but these are just my opinion. And nobody's going to die from this. It's just a rant or a conversation piece to have. So I've got a list of things. I will be going on my phone to just get a reminder in terms of some of the things that have come out that you wanted to talk about. But I wanted to kind of kick off with one thing to start off with. Over the last 18 months, you'll probably hear me in some of the interviews talking about the brown pound. And what I mean by that is there's never been a better time that if you're one of the established artists, or you get to that level, for you to earn absolutely crazy amounts of money, and it's well deserved and well entitled to. And I hope that you if you are one of those people, that you make as much money and get as much success as you can. But there is another sort of tiers of artists underneath who may not be as successful as that, but are still trying to create the art around it. So there's been a lot of singles, EPs, albums that have come out, and it's really made me think about how promotion is done in this field. Not just about going on radio, going on podcasts, or what you're doing on your social media. It's about what's the plan when you're releasing something like that. What's the plan? I've thought about it quite deeply, probably a bit too much at times, and it might be a little bit pathetic around it, to be fair. But if you're a senior artist, and let's say not a nostalgia, a legacy artist, they've already made their career. They've got everything in place. They're still getting booked out week in, week out, flying all over the world. And if they release an EP or an album, we might not think it's any good, but let's say it's cost them 50 grand to make that. Their bookings might get 5-10 bookings that come out of it, which will almost kind of pay pay itself off. So when you look at it, are we saying that it was a good album, or are we saying it's a bad album because they're already a millionaire, or they've earned a serious amount of money from it? They've got bookings out of it. So what's the right answer? And I don't really know what the right answer is at this stage, because there are elements to say they know what they're doing. They know their fan base. They've made a ripple in their fan base, but have they made new eyes see their work? I'm not too sure. But are they flying around the world and are they getting money out of it? Yes. So it's a really, really big kind of oxymoron that's happened. I've want to kind of have a discussion of those kind of mid to new gen kind of artists coming onto the scene. And the biggest thing that really gets on my nerves, it's around sort of self-promotion, that they've got a product coming out. I've spoken to many artists on here, off the record as well, where, you know, it's money is such a big player now in terms of getting the video right. So the pressure on getting things done in the right way is probably the most it's ever been, because you might only have 2-3 songs to kind of make it straight away, because it's so brutal in terms of like the music is so disposable now. So if you're gonna make it, you've got 2 or 3 chances, and then after that it's really hard to kind of pull it back up. It does happen, and there'll probably be people in the comments saying, yeah, but what about this guy, this girl, whoever? And you're right, it's just that this moment in time I can't think off the top of my head, especially in a new scenario. It might have worked back in the day, but I'm not too sure in this kind of new world. So what I've done is I've put together, and remember, this is meant to be very light-hearted and it's just my opinion, I've put together a top 10 self-promotion bandwagon guideline for those new artists. So the first one is control the narrative. If you don't tell your story, somebody else will. So when you're releasing something, you've got to have something else that's attributed to it. What's the background around it? What's the story around with the song? Because that helps build up the actual the promotion, what you're putting out in content. People sympathize with storytelling. So when you're putting something out there, what was a struggle around it? You don't want somebody else who was in the process telling the story on your behalf. It's your content. You've paid the money in general. Own it. Make sure you actually tell the story behind it. The second one is be consistent with whatever persona that you're putting out there. If you're a wannabe gangster, or you're a hip hop person, or you are in, you know, whatever character that you think that you want to put on screen, be that way. If you look at Sidhu, for example, he was consistent all the way through his musical career. There was no change. There was no difference. You knew categorically who it was. If you're playing, I don't know, a villain, or if you're playing a sort of hard to get person, I don't know, you know, a millionaire, just keep up with it. Don't keep changing the script of it, because then it's hard to buy into whatever you're saying, whatever you're selling as well. Because if you're not invested into somebody, you ain't gonna care, are you? At the same time, the third one is a really, really big point, and it actually goes back to a guy called Chow Sun, who's involved in mixed martial arts, which says the microphone is a gift. Promote something every time you speak. So whenever you're getting an interview or you're doing something, we don't want to know who your favorite artist was. We probably already know that information. Give something new every single time. Give a new piece of information, and don't turn down an interview because you are able to do points 1, 2, and 3 what we've just sorry, 1 and 2, what we've just said at that point. So you've got to use the microphone every single time and learn how to do public speaking, because it's your chance to imagine you go onto the Asian network or another platform and you're telling the same story. People are going to switch off. It's boring. You need to give some new nuggets of information every single time. The other bit, number 4, say what others won't say. That uniqueness, that brutal honesty carries a long way. If you're really genuine that you've been on your social media and you've got an honest point of view, even if you're wrong, it will come through. It will actually travel a lot further and get you the credit. It might actually be a distraction to say that if your song or whatever hasn't done the greatest, at least you're being honest in terms of your reaction around it. The 5th one's a little bit tough as well, is never be boring. You'll see a lot of people, especially when they're doing the promotion, if you're a new gen person and you're going to the same people as artists 30 years ago, I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think you need to have a PR campaign. You need to have something else that even if you're going on those places, you're promoting something every single time. Being safe is forgettable. And I'll give you another example. If you do this exercise and you close your eyes and you think, what was Drake's last release? I would say a strong majority of you wouldn't be able to answer that question. But what you would know is that there's beef going on with him and Kendrick Lamar. Whether you know the details of that, forget about it. All I'm saying is that Drake is never boring. So just think about it. Number 6, turn your losses into wins. Even if you release something and it's shit, if you release a single, EP, or album, turn it into a win. No, they majority of people don't care if it's crap. They only care if it's interesting. There's so many artists, big artists that we listen to and we love, who have released absolute nightmares, but you still remember the big ones because they just move the production line. They move it really quick and they get to the next release as fast as they can. Number 7, which is to use humor where you can and sarcasm. It's always quite favorable that try not to be a dick online. So, or whenever you're doing, if you meet your fans or you meet whoever it's going to be, use humor and sarcasm. And the best person who does this is Diljit. You'll see him smiling, laughing and joking all the time, especially when he does his Instagram lives. He has absolutely mastered this like amazingly. And the next one is he's probably the perfect example of it as well, which is to study the media game. If you look at what works, steal it. If you know what the best in the game is doing, why not steal it? Use exactly the tactics of what they've been doing. Break it down. Look at who they're speaking to. Look at where the voice is going. Look at where the sets of eyes are moving on to. He has mastered it. Unbelievable. My only thing that I would like is to say that we help people in the kind of brown media, let's call it, be lifted up in that same way. We need the next generation of podcasters, next generation of influencers who are musically interested to kind of pick that up as fast as you can. Number 9, be ubiquitous online. Now that's a really big word, and what I mean is that you can be great, but that's no point if no one sees you. So think about all the other sort of 8 points that come before it. It builds up to this point, your unique selling point. Why are you different to all the other artists that are out and available in there? And my last point guidelines is speaking headlines. When you are doing interviews, see if you can break it down into little snippets, little short pieces that can be used as headlines. Think about catchphrases that you're going to put together, especially if you're trying to be controversial. Think of the hook line that the people are going to be using to kind of sell your content as well. So remember what we said before, which was like the microphone is a gift. You need the headline to kind of accompany it. So that is my sort of 10 points from my personal view, not anybody else's, just what I've been thinking, that I think that could be a useful tool to kind of help people to move along. And never dismiss kind of, somebody who's got a smaller platform, because one day they might make it big. And at the same time, if people such as Diljit, Karan Aujla, Jazzy B have been on those platforms before, what makes you so special to say that you shouldn't go on those same spaces? You know what I mean? Have a little bit of respect for those people who are trying to help you. They're trying to promote you. They're spending money out of their own pocket to help promote you as well. Obviously, if their platform gets more eyes, it gets bigger, it's better for you as well, and the whole and your peers as well at the same time. So don't be an arrogant and don't be a dick, which is my general sort of point of view. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to some of your questions. So let me just pull up the phone here. It's an old phone, so it's taking a little bit longer. That's also a plug that if anyone wants to buy me the new phone, which comes out, yeah, you let me know, yeah? Okay, so here we go. We just kind of covered this, but why do some artists releasing a few songs think that they are superstars? I think because the rewards are so big and so quick as well. So again, I think now it's turned more into kind of a monetary game around it. And so when you get that little bit of success, it's really, really, really difficult to kind of keep that momentum going. Sometimes with some artists that, they've released an album or EP, for example, it's done so well, it's really difficult for them to get back into the studio because they're traveling the world or they're doing weddings. We're into wedding season now, so it's even more difficult around it. And think about it. If let's say you are, a wedding singer, every week you turn up to somewhere, you got people falling at your feet, opening the doors to your car, taking you into a room, what drink. You're getting treated like a king or a queen every week. So sometimes a lot of people, it can get to their heads as well at the same time. And, whether we class that as being a superstar or not, that's fine. But, if that happened to me, I'm not sure I would sort of behave in a different way, to be fair to them. So not really kind of answered your question, but I think I got around it. Next one. Why are there so many podcasts and how come they don't last or are not consistent? Yeah, I think we have seen a big increase in the brown sphere in podcasts as well. And you got to kind of remember some of the lessons of like the OG. So AKTV, Just Rain was doing it, Lily Singh, Satman, who used to be doing the British Asian podcast as well. They all gone through phases where they've had burnout as well. And some people have moved on away from him as well, which is completely fine. I think one of my advice where I've helped a few, this is ego bit again, but I got helped do this one first. Bali Chima helped me. And then I've kind of passed on that same ethos, which is trying to help others. But I have been a lot more selective now in terms of who I've been helping, because there is a cost to your emotional intelligence, your resilience. It does get used up quite a bit and gets wasted when you give advice and it's not taken. When I was a bit younger, I would be able to tolerate. Now it really winds me up, so I kind of stay away from it. And I think my one piece of advice is that if you're starting a podcast or you're thinking of doing a podcast, in my humble opinion, is don't think about episode 1 to 5. Think about what does episode 20 look like. And if you can't answer that question, then my personal opinion is don't do it. because after a very short time, it's only your passion and your hunger to do something which is going to carry you on, because it can be quite draining. It does take up a lot of time with very little reward around it. So being consistent is also kind of part of that plan, which is release. Try and keep to a schedule, but if you can't, then at least release that whenever you're convenient. I think what tends to happen is where I've seen people, they start it off, they think their WhatsApp group is, oh, this would make it a brilliant podcast. They do 2 or 3, talked about it all, and then think, well, forget about it. I mean, if you're doing a podcast about, I don't know, makeup, and your interest is not in makeup, it's going to come through. So try and find a passion point that you're interested in, and stick with it. Next one, Mehfil Band, who have been touring at the moment. So well done to Mehfil. Welcome to Quest Events and Rico Events, who have put this tour together. The feedback has been amazing. I didn't get a chance to go. I wish I did. I mean, fair play to him. And so the question was, Mehfil Band, why are we not doing this vibe in the UK? I think the culture here has been more around, I'm making real rash judgments. I haven't thought about this. It's on the top of my head. You know, the Lady Sangeet vibe here in kind of pre-wedding parties has been a good thing. There isn't a male equivalent, to be honest, which I think there's a gap in the market for. And I think Mehfil are that real brilliant example of where they saw a gap in the market in North America, and it looks like it's been a passion project. I don't know enough about their kind of background, but you can see how well executed it is. Their socials, the way that they've put it across is fantastic. And the fact that they've gone overseas and been able to kind of do a sellout tour, it demonstrates that. So they've found that gap in the market, took the risk, and it's worked for them, and fair play to them, and wish them all the success. And, I'm sure they're only going to go strength to strength, and that you'll get other equivalents kind of coming out of the market as well, which is great. Sidhu Moose documentary. Right, I actually did a reaction video to the Killing Call, which was produced by the BBC. I recorded it, I started editing it, I completed editing it, and then at the point of when I was going to release it, I said no. And the reason was because I wanted to kind of give it a bit more time and have that discussion in here. And I tried to be a little bit balanced in this bit. So the pros and cons. So the pros for me was that it was really good to see the BBC taking a story that is so important within the Punjabi community, especially, and highlight it, and the production value. So let's just talk about it from a production value point of view. It was really well put together in terms of camera, the way it was shot, the quality of it was around there. And for it to kind of it wasn't kind of prime time viewing, it was just put online, but the marketing around it was really good to see. The cons and the things that I had trouble with actually outweighed the pros in it, and this is, again, is my opinion. I think that when you're putting something out to put something together like that, I mean, the journalist had obviously done her research as much as she could, and to go around it, but there were some areas and some topics that were being missed, and I'll get into that now. So the first things first, the parents didn't give consent in order to be for this. Didn't give the blessings for the episode or the actual documentary to go out, because there's actually a legal case going on around about the same time of his death anniversary. So I thought the timing of it could have been a lot better, because if you've already made it, you haven't got their blessing. Why don't you just wait 6 weeks time? Why don't you just wait and just delay it a little bit longer? you get what I mean? There might have been other developments. You might have jeopardized some of the case that was already being discussed in it. And again, there might be a lot of reasons around that, that we might not be aware of, or certainly I'm not aware of. I just thought it might, the timing was a little bit poor around it. The other thing was that came out, it was obviously the gangland affiliations in terms of the the story and the narrative that came out of it, which was actually quite plausible that was coming in there. But the other bits were that if we knew that these gangs were affiliated with artists, why wasn't there any discussion of other artists that could be involved in it? It felt like it was a combination of the JFK assassination and the Jamkillah story, and it was like a formula that they put together at the combination of the two and tried to put it together like this. Because obviously the Sidhu case, there's many different layers to it as well, and I think this was tried to tie it up with a nice little bow on it and say, yeah, that's it, it's done. But there's still loads of discussion points in terms of like the ammunition used was like military grade one, so who's supplying that? There was, again, which we talked about, the artists, that there was nothing sort of gone in there. The politics, we knew as fans that as soon as the politics game came in, there was another layer that was talked about it as well. There's just so many other things that I felt that they missed. And the other big one for me was obviously the number one is not having the parents' blessings or them being involved. But there was people who were around Sidhu towards the end of his life who might have given better insight in terms of the situation and the circumstances that were around there. So if they got asked and didn't want to participate, that's a story in itself. Why? So I would want to hear from the people like the kid, Steel Bangles, spending time and producing around other people. Haya, for example, they had a really strong connection around it within the UK. Other artists that were around at that time. There were so many other people, that some of the other voices that I would love to hear around it, because there's been a lot of chatter. Sonny Moulton, you know what I mean? I'd love to hear his point of view. And there might be a time where all these people come together, with the parents' blessing, to produce something a lot more detailed when the case is closed. So that was just kind of my initial thoughts. I haven't really, I've just done that off the top of my head, to be honest with you, and kind of recalling what I said before. But yeah, that's just my thoughts around it. Social media trends. So probably about 80% of you probably watching this are making up these statistics. We'll probably have the same kind of thing on your algorithm. A new TikTok dance. Sapphire is definitely on people's on their timeline. Ed Sheeran's track. You're going to be seeing obviously loads of DJ stuff, destination weddings, ball players, football, all of these around. So I am really, really interested to see what this year's wedding trend is going to be. And I'll try and keep regular tabs of this and that. But I'd really appreciate it if those people who are going to weddings and they spot some trends and that, let me know. I always find it brilliant. At weddings, people are the most relaxed at that point to see what the latest craze is as well. And it helps me be relevant. So yeah, self-confession there. Okay, here we go. What else have we got? World War III. I did say some elements of this is going to be a little bit more deeper than others. Yeah, obviously, every day when you wake up, there's another possibility of World War III happening. There's another country being invaded or bombing another country. And it is scary times out there, because sometimes as citizens or human, whatever you want to call yourself, it can feel quite helpless. I've actually started to turn off the news as well, because it's not really helpful in the mornings, especially if you've got kids. Like, it's not the best thing to do. It's made my mental framework in the morning a lot healthier, not putting on the news as well. So I catch a few headlines around in there, but even by the time when this comes out, You know, it could be all over. I ain't got a clue, but it is scary times out there at the same time. But see if you need to give information, especially the kids, to make it a little more palatable, a little bit more safer as well at the same time. But it is very, very scary out there. I mean, just to understand the foreign policy of certain countries is just wild at this stage. Diljit controversy. I mean, Sadaji 3 at the time of recording this has been involved in a controversy as well. We already know about his Just One Thing Cholera film as well. And I'm not sure if I was in Diljit Dosanjh's position, I would have the motivation to keep cool in these situations, because I know people who directly know him, but obviously I indirectly speak to them or directly speak to them. That there's so many things that's actually costed personally in certain projects that he's done that the public will never know. So for him to kind of hold his own in this time without losing it is actually, I've actually gained a lot more respect for him for that. It's very difficult that when you do a piece of work, let's say even out in your own lives and you're at work or you're doing a project or your own business, that you have to keep justifying why you've done it. It can get quite repetitive, and probably to the point a lot of us, me included, will just give up and say, well, what's the point of this? I've you know, especially in his position financially, he doesn't need to work again. All that he's doing now is based off his own motivation. And especially when you hear some of the excuses that why the films are being banned, some that are factually on the record, and just doing a film based on that, another one based on a person's nationality who's involved in the film. It's like, it's 2025. These things are still happening. But most importantly, the audiences out there can access the information anyway. From a PR point of view, this is brilliant PR. He won't need to do another story again. Everybody knows about these two films. If they come out, he wouldn't even need to advertise it. The PR is done for him. So it's counterintuitive, it's counterproductive in terms of what's being out there as well. So all I could say is fair play to him. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he can go from there. I did read a quote that people say, like, in his head mentally, he's beyond any industry. He's out of gravity. He can do whatever he wants in that. And if that's his mindset for him to be successful and do that, fair play to the bloke. Next one. A day in the life of a podcast host. Get ready with me. No fucking chance. I could never film a day of what I do in this. Not no way. But I do see some of those videos and that, and they do crack me up, because I'm thinking, like, you know, how many hours have you condensed in there? Have you eaten? Um, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, no chance. So that's not going to happen. Not happen at all. Football podcast. Yes, there is a conversation and something to happen for the beginning of the new season. I was going to do one at the end of the season, but Liverpool won, and I was not going to do that, if I'm being honest with you. But next season, everyone's got hopes and dreams of actually doing well. So yeah, I'm going to do that. So I have reached out to a couple of people, and if you're interested, let me know, and then let's see if we can get. It might not be on the regular, but it'll be some sort of podcast happening. And the last one is Rob. Rob is a new artist who is coming onto the scene. He's actually recorded some bits and bobs, so a new guy to kind of be aware of. I won't really give that more information there, because he is scheduled to kind of come on I'm just checking if there was anything more. Artists to get on. Oh, I'm not going to go down that road because there is going to be a few. So just for you guys, there is a lot more sort of planned. I have got a few podcasts scheduled. I've got the Indian body coach who's coming on, that's been recorded. That should be the next podcast that comes out. And then I've got a few more sort of lined up then as well. Originally, I was going to do this live. I can't now. Wedding commitments as well. So, yeah, there will be anything around there. There's also the last bit. I've got some kind of bigger plan for later in the year. So keep an eye out for that. Merchandise is getting made at this. So that'll be a next one. And the last one is sponsorship. So I've been approached on a few things. If you're interested in sponsoring or kind of collabs, let me know. And it's always worth a discussion. So a big thank you from me to you. I really kind of enjoy these episodes because it's kind of my opinion on certain things and answering your questions. But I think when we have artists in front of us or we have guests in front of us, I always try and do my best to try and get them out there. And sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. And I appreciate all the feedback that you give as well. So a big thank you to you, and I will catch you on the next episode. Peace. Those were